We sent KHOU 11 News reporter Leigh Frillici to find out. And Leigh, what'd you find out?
Well, and the word is you got to ask around where these cantaloupe are from. We talked to a local Kroger's in Randall's. They said they don't have cantaloupe from Colorado. And we're here at Canino's Market. They say these cantaloupe are safe because they're from California. They even put a sign up. They're not from Colorado, where some of those cantaloupe have been linked to sickness and even death. Despite all the assurances from stores, some customers are still concerned. At Canino's Market, you could say business is fruitful, except
people are afraid to buy cantaloupes because of that one grower in Colorado.
Even though the sign here says these cantaloupe are from California, we saw customer after customer steering clear of them, including James Pitts.
I see some good-looking cantaloupe, but I'm not going to buy them because I'm afraid.
Afraid of the deadly outbreak of possible listeria from cantaloupe coming from one farm in Colorado. 16 people, including 2 Texans, have died, and dozens have gotten sick in Texas and across the country. The questionable cantaloupes have Rocky Ford on the labels, but the scare is affecting sales of all the fruit.
Even though our cantaloupes are good, cut our sales down to half.
I mean, they look good to me.
Unless you have customers like Joe Battisti.
And I noticed these, it says California, so probably not an issue there.
He's done his homework.
I'm going to go with this one, yeah. I like the look of it. I don't see anything wrong with it, and I like the way it smells.
And he's looking forward to enjoying his cantaloupe, free of fear. So once again, we want to emphasize that these cantaloupe here are from California. They're safe, but experts say if you fear you have a tainted cantaloupe, even washing the fruit won't help, because if the listeria is on the outside, check out all these nooks and crannies. It'd be nearly impossible to make sure you got it all out, and if you cut through it with a knife, you could carry that listeria onto the fruit. So coming up at 6, we're going to have more about how to keep yourself safe. Stay tuned. We are live at Canino's Market. Leigh Frillici, KHOU 11 News.
Investigates, and reporter Leigh Frillici shows us what she's uncovered.
These days, Amanda Parks is trying to get back in the driver's seat.
I'm just very leery of people.
Leery, she says, because of what happened 2 years ago in the back seat of a yellow cab. A hotel surveillance camera caught the cabbie driving Parks. His name was Ricardo Steele, a man with a long rap sheet that includes time behind bars for drugs, assault, and theft. A convicted criminal driving a cab, about to commit another crime.
I was hysterical. I was begging and pleading with him, and he just had it set in his mind that he was going to do what he wanted to do to me. And something you don't ever think is going to happen to you, and it can.
The cabbie kidnapped his passenger and drove her into the 4th Ward, all the while demanding sex.
As soon as the cab, I noticed he would slow down, I got my wits about me and I jumped out.
Steele later pleaded guilty to kidnapping. He's now serving a 6-year prison sentence. At the time of the crime, he was on probation for selling drugs. Yet the city of Houston had still granted him a cab license just 3 months before the kidnapping. That's why 11 News decided to investigate how many other cab drivers on Houston streets have criminal backgrounds. We looked back over the past 10 years, and we found serious criminal histories for several hundred Houston cabbies. 6 had been convicted of homicide or involuntary manslaughter. Nearly 300 had drug or drunk driving convictions, and 146 had histories of aggravated assault or robbery. But
if it falls within the 10-year period, it shows up.
Houston's taxi cab ordinance decrees only the last 10 years of criminal history can be considered when someone applies for a cab license, and only convictions count. Sue Lovell serves on City Council's Transportation Committee.
I think that if the justice system says that you've committed an offense, you serve your time, that I think that our standards would be the same.
Here's how it works. Thomas Capps served 3 years for a 1993 involuntary manslaughter conviction. Then, in 2007, Capps was arrested for drug possession, but Capps was able to get a cab license since the manslaughter conviction was over 10 years old, and he had only been arrested, not yet convicted, of the drug charge.
Personally, I wouldn't want to see some of them, but if they meet the criteria, we deny or give them their license based on what the ordinance says.
And we found something else. More than 200 Houston taxi drivers had been convicted of crimes in the past 10 years. Crimes like prostitution, assault, crimes that would have disqualified them from getting a license unless a hearing officer thought differently.
Those individuals get a license. That means that they've convinced that hearing officer that they deserve one.
Of course, more than 14,000 cab drivers are licensed to carry passengers in the city of Houston. And if you ask honest cabbies like Joshua Bullard, they'll tell you,
probably 98% of all cab drivers don't commit any infractions whatsoever.
And most cabbies have no record, like Herb Charles, who says the system works to keep their passengers safe.
We have a 10-year standard on criminal background checks, and I think that's sufficient.
A legal battle on that very subject is now winding its way through civil courts, and it concerns Amanda Parks' kidnapping case. Parks' attorney argued that even though Ricardo Steele met the city's criteria to get a cab license, that his employer, Yellow Cab, had a responsibility to delve deeper into his background. A jury sided with Parks, awarding her $300,000. Yellow Cab disagrees and is appealing the decision.
Each company has a duty to ensure that whoever they permit, whoever they contract with to put behind the wheel is fit to do so.
Yellow Cab sent us this statement. Yellow Cab follows and abides by all ordinances and regulations established by the City of Houston in the investigation into the suitability of prospective drivers and the regulation of licensed drivers.
How could a company put somebody like that behind the cab with people's lives in their hands? It's not right.
Reflecting back on that night still haunts Parks. She says she now suffers from PTSD and insomnia.
And it's sad, that you can't have any trust.
Still, she's driven to protect others from becoming another victim of a terrifying cab ride. Leigh Frillici, 11 News. In the days that followed the deadly daycare fire, we heard good things about the woman in charge.
Very compassionate, and she loves children.
We heard this too from a grandmother who didn't want us showing her face, but did want to say this about the woman who sometimes cared for her grandson.
The people that I have met coming and going here love her.
But since the fire, we've been hearing another story about Jessica Tata. We've had at least a dozen phone calls and emails from viewers. All of them wanted to remain anonymous, but everyone had the same story. It's a story about Jessica Tata and a fire that happened right here at Taylor High School back in 2002. Authorities wouldn't confirm it on the record, citing the ongoing investigation. But classmates who went to Taylor High with Tata consistently told us the same details.
We sat outside for about I want to say 2 to 3 hours until everything was let out, and sure enough, we found out later that day that Jessica had caught the freshman campus girls' bathroom on fire.
She had actually set fire to the east wing and the west wing by hanging toilet paper from the ceiling.
The impression that classmates have is not a flattering one.
She was just kind of the crazy, loud girl who would run through the halls and sometimes bark at random people.
Her family wouldn't comment, but the images from this fire were disturbing enough to prompt a lot of other people to call us with another story about another fire a long time ago. Leigh Frillici, 11 News. It's a video that Anita Major still has a hard time watching. It's her daughter Libby's final survival swim class test when they lived in Florida. The then 15-month-old is fully clothed and forced to stay afloat through this, and this, and this. And later an instructor even throws a t-shirt over her face when she surfaces. A common test in survival swim.
How I even thought I could re-enroll her, I don't know. You want to go down the big slide?
Major didn't re-enroll Libby when they moved to Houston. The survival classes traumatized this mother, who's also a doctor.
I thought I was watching my own daughter drown. It was horrible for me.
Reach high and turn.
At a home pool in Houston, more survival swim classes with another teacher. The classes are not for the faint of heart. Not for the children,
push,
and not for the parents.
First day was a little emotional.
People like Chauncey Johnson, a local anesthesiologist, believe in this class so much that he's unfazed by his son's cries.
With my profession, I'm used to people being in critical situations and doing whatever it takes to keep people alive.
Glendy Heron has been teaching survival swim for 41 years, and to her, those cries are progress.
If you're in a public pool and a little child turns over and screams, "Mommy," how many moms turn and look at that child? Everyone.
The whole idea is to throw children into survival mode. Here, tough love comes as quickly as the hugs.
Okay. We're not talking, do you want to turn over on your back and be safe? We are talking, you need to turn over on your back and learn to breathe because you can die.
To parents or children who find the methods too tough,
For them, they probably need to go to another, either the Y or the Red Cross group that sings songs and plays games.
At a Red Cross-based lesson in Conroe, there are songs, bubble blowing, and much less crying, but also less swimming if the child isn't ready.
He's not real comfortable submerging, yet.
The Red Cross philosophy, a gold standard of swim instruction, doesn't believe in sink or swim methods.
We feel that as an American Red Cross instructor, that forced dunking is traumatizing to a child.
Some experts say all that dunking can even cause health problems.
If you ingest enough water, you could have issues in regard to low blood sodium, which may go so far as to cause issues as far as seizures and the like.
There's no doubt learning how to swim is important. An I-Team investigation found over the past 3 years in Harris County, 25% of the drownings happen to children 5 and under, and nearly all of them happen at a home pool or tub. But just as important is knowing who is teaching your child. There are swim programs that have their own instructor training classes like Red Cross, but we call the Texas Workforce Commission, the Department of Labor, even a federal helpline, and the answer was the same. What we found is there's no set standard for swim instructors. At a time when hairdressers are licensed, manicurists are licensed, there's even a push to license yoga instructors. There's no license for swim instructors, but there are some important questions you can ask. Is the instructor CPR certified, lifeguard certified? How many hours of instructor training have they had? What's their past experience? Karen agrees there should be more oversight within her field.
If you have a teenager teaching it, or even a 20 or 30-year-old, and the child is constantly gagging and choking, then there's an issue.
So in order for your kids to enjoy the water safely, take a look at the different programs out there.
Oh, honey.
Anita Major's daughter is now happily enrolled in a more gentle class in Westview. Survival swim wasn't right for her family.
You just need to know your children before you embark on something like this.
Stretch and push.
But for little Ruby Clements, another student of Miss Glendy's, her family says everything is right about this. Just 2 days of lessons, and her parents say, look at her now.
The group swim lessons didn't work for her.
Really, we didn't have the results.
One arm at a time, baby girl.
Swim lessons can save a child's life, but before you jump in, ask about the instructor, ask about the classes, and then ask yourself, is it right for your child? Leigh Frillici, 11 News.